Oblong. Good morning and welcome to गणेश शॉट। गणेश शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। आज हम देखेंगे एक अपडेट कि चाइना के अंदर बाढ़ भी हो रहा है, सूखा भी पड़ रहा है, और उसके बाद विल हैव एन ओपन सेशन कि आप के जितने सवाल हैं वो हम आंसर करेंगे। कल देयर वाज अ रिक्वेस्ट इन यस्टरडेज पॉडकास्ट कि हमारे पास बहुत सवाल हैं, तो आप पूछना चाहते हो जरूर पूछिए, because a lot of things are happening all over the world, and I suppose you would like to know what questions you'd like to know what answers you want to all the questions and issues that you have in your mind. But here we go. We'll first start with China and what's happening there. Okay, this is the news clip I just thought I'll say. Weather tracker: South China hit by floods as North suffers from drought. So it's a two-way affair, both uh, droughts and flood. And what's more, from northwest to east, China parched faces regions face drought. We'll come to it in a minute. And flood fears in China's east as rain swells Yangtze River level. So Yangtze River is also under threat of floods. अगर ये हो गया तो काफी प्रॉब्लम होगा चाइना को। ओवरऑल अगर आप देखेंगे तो नीचे जो लाल बिंदु है, ये सब फ्लड प्रोन एरियाज हैं, और जहां फ्लड्स हो रहे हैं साउथ चाइना, राइट, खास करके गुआंगडोंग एरिया में जो सबसे नीचे है, वहां भारी फ्लड्स हो रहा है, और ये सेकंड टाइम दिस ईयर जहां फ्लड्स हो रहे हैं वहां। दैट्स द पॉइंट। एंड ऑफ कोर्स इफ यू लुक एट इट, द जो नीचे वाला रेड सर्कल है वो इलाका है जहां फ्लड्स हो रहे हैं, ऊपर वाला जो ग्रीन इलाका है, जो ग्रीन सर्कल है, उस इलाके में सूखा पड़ रहा है, पानी नहीं हो रहा। सो बट इज दिस समथिंग न्यू टू चाइना? नो, इट्स नॉट। चाइना इज ड्राउट प्रोन एंड फ्लड प्रोन ऑलवेज। ओके, यहां तक नो, दिस इज अ थिंग, ये पहले हमने क्लाइमेट चेंज के बारे में, व्हेन आई डिड द पॉडकास्ट, आई showed this slide. Droughts and floods have been endemic to China from time immemorial. Many Chinese dynasties have collapsed due to drought, famines, and floods. In 2022, the drought was more extensive and severe. In the same area, in 2023, floods were devastating. So the same area, वही इलाका, एक साल सूखा पड़ता है और दूसरे साल बाढ़ आता है। इस साल बाढ़ का मौका है, और ये है समथिंग विच इज interesting about China. Why is it interesting about China? China is one of the few countries which is going to get severely hit by climate change, और वो नजर आ रहा है। So we just have to step back and see what's happened. अगर आप देखेंगे तो ये नीचे वाला रिवर है यांगजी रिवर, ऊपर वाला है येलो रिवर हुआंगी, एंड येलो रिवर के इलाके में ऑल्सो फ्लड्स हैपन, यांगजी में भी फ्लड्स आते हैं, बट दोनों इलाके में सूखा भी आते हैं। दैट्स द थिंग। ये नहीं बोल सकते हो कि एक ही नदी के अंदर फ्लड्स आता है और एक ही इलाके में ड्राउट्स आते हैं। इफ यू लुक एट इट, 2020 में ये यांगजी रिवर में कैचमेंट एरिया में इतना पानी था कि थ्री गॉर्जेस डैम लुढ़कने में आ गया। अगले साल क्या है, अगले साल ने 2022 में इतना सूखा पड़ा उधर, थ्री गॉर्जेस डैम में पानी ही नहीं था। So this is the thing about China which we have to look at it. And 22 The drought was so severe, same Guangdong area where there are a lot of floods now. In 22, this all area was parched, right? And they had no water. All their hydroelectric systems had to close down. And the hydropower systems closed down means power shortage. Power shortage means the economy had to get hit. Is it going to happen this year? It will. Will it get reported? I don't think so. Right? Because what gets reported one year doesn't get reported the next year. In fact, in 2022, this is what it was: China's record heat wave, worst drought in decades. Entire Yangtze River basin had dried up. Okay, and this is how it looked. There was the Yangtze River, which otherwise in floods you can, the water goes over the bridge. इसमें तो बिल्कुल there उस वक्त I remember people were crossing Yangtze River on motorcycles and videos were out. Okay, and then you look at it, they're all in 2022. There was the worst flooding, they say, in Beijing in 140 years. Why is it happening now? Why is it not happening before? Right? So that's why it is. There's the climate change. Climate change जो है वो चाइना को मार रहा है और मारेगा भी. और यहाँ तक उस वक्त जी जिनपिंग डिड टूर कि पूरे इलाके में गया, देखा कि कितना फसल चला गया, नहीं गया. जो बारिश, बिन मौसम के बारिश जब या बिन मौसम के बरसात जब आता है तो फसल नष्ट हो जाता है. उस साल तकरीबन 20% इनका गेहूं का क्रॉप खत्म हो गया था. इनफैक्ट 20% भी मेरे ख्याल में एक कंजर्वेटिव फिगर है, उससे ज्यादा ही हो गया. ओके, अगर आप 2024 में देखोगे, हेवी रेन हिट्स सदर्न चाइना एज हांगकांग स्पॉट्स ऑफ वाटर स्पॉट, या हांगकांग के इलाके में हुआ है. ओके, एंड देन अगर आप देखेंगे, ये भी रिपोर्ट आया है कि इतना बारिश की वजह से इनके बड़े बड़े जितने शहर हैं वो they're sinking. It is called subsidence. So why does subsidence happen? It doesn't happen because of heavy rain. It happens because of lack of rain. Okay, when there is heavy flooding, the water beneath the buildings, subsoil water gets filled up. When there's no water, the whole thing goes off. And during drought, where the water stood, there's a collapse. And that started happening in major cities in China because they were overbuilt. Right? Well, it's not as if these cities are going to collapse कि अगले दिन कल के दिन वो collapse हो गए. ये हुए भी तकरीबन 6-7 महीने हो गए. बट धीरे 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 इनका शुरू होगा प्रॉब्लम. क्योंकि जब चाइना वाले जो भी करते हैं, they do it in a hurry and regret at leisure. I think they come to the stage where they're going to start regretting at leisure. Okay. This is Guangdong, where floods are on. It is not the first time. In April also there were floods there. So this area is under sustained floods this year. Last year or the year before, it was drought. Alternating. So whenever there is drought, whenever there is flood, there will be the economy will get hit. Okay, this is drought hit Yunnan. Brace for worst case scenario. Earlier this year. Why? Yunnan is completely dependent on hydroelectric power. And if it is drought in Yunnan, right, you don't get electricity. And if you don't get electricity, you don't have power. If you don't have power, your factories don't run. If your factories don't run, your economy goes down. Very simple. Simple and straight. Okay. So if I summarize this update, the harbinger of impending climate change is these droughts and floods. Okay, it puts Chinese infrastructure plans to revive its flagging economy in limbo. All their infrastructure that they're building, they're doing a lot of water transfer uh, plans from south to north and all that. When there's no, if there's a drought in south, how can you take water from south to north? So there are issues in this whole story of climate change which is happening. Now, North China Plain is their agricultural, क्या बोलोगे आप उनका granary. Their agriculture produces huge. 60% of wheat comes from the North China Plain. 45% of cotton, 35% of corn. Sorry, 45% of corn and 35% cotton. 64% of peanuts. All this is produced in the North China Plain. Where is this North China Plain? It is exactly where the drought is this year. Last year, the wheat crop got hit because of excessive rains. So, food security. You want to look at food security. I mean, let's not think that China is a hero. It can go where it wants, the way it wants. This was all last year slide. The drought is in an area where dependence on hydro water energy is high. But the best part is this is happening again this year. China is enhancing thermal power. Okay, they've gone back to thermal power. When you enhance thermal power, you need more water because at the end of the day, energy is produced by either steam turbines or water turbines. ओके यू माइट आप कोयला जला सकते हो पर कोयला के गर्मी के साथ पानी को भाप में बदली करते हो और जो वो भाप निकल आता है उससे आप टरबाइन चलाते हो जिससे आपको ऊर्जा आता है ओके जब ज्यादा ड्राउट होता है उन इलाकों में जहां इनका हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिक पावर सिस्टम है वहां इनका बिजली कहाँ आएगा Okay, Yangtze Basin, it's home to more than 1 billion people. It's a huge industrial area. It needs more water in an era of water shortage to expand economic capacities. उस इलाके में ऑल्टरनेट एक साल बारिश हो रहा है एक साल बाढ़ आ रहा है करेंगे क्या ये तो जो भी बोलता है कि भाई चाइना विल रिकवर दो तीन मूल चीजें सोचते नहीं है वो है इनका आबादी जो घट रहा है दूसरा इनका ये जो climate change is going to limit their growth and the third thing which I find will limit their growth is their politics ये तीन चीजें हैं जिससे चाइना को मार देगा okay now we'll start the open session I'll take on any questions to set the whole thing straight I picked up तीन सवाल हमने लिया on this from your comments and I'll answer them first. The first question, which is an interesting question I got was, sir, according to you, what's stopping our establishment to blow up the one China narrative decisively, declare Tibet an independent state, or at least establish Tibet government in exile, embassy in Delhi, establish full diplomatic and arms relationship with Taiwan, recognize the Hong Kong democracy movement as a legitimate struggle, raise Xinjiang atrocities on Muslim issues in the UN when China is playing on front foot, why are we so shy? Very fair question for you to ask, right? The way I'll put it is this. As far as one China is concerned, we have already made it very clear that one China is not something which we are going to stick to. We have virtually dropped one China, barring telling China that we don't recognize one China, everything is done. Why don't you declare Tibet an independent state? because in 2003 you accepted Tibet as being part of China officially. So you can't say all of a sudden that it's an independent state. But you have enough reason to review your stance. For that, the government has to have the guts to do it. Why is our government not doing it? Ask the government. This is a question which you should ask the government. I'm also of the view that we should start putting the status of Tibet in a limbo. As far as the government in exile is concerned, it's already there. It's been there from 1962. In fact, it's been there from 1959. We already have. Whether we have to establish it in Delhi or not is not something which only India can do. It We need others' help, and we are not strong enough as it to do things independently. Let's be very clear. Look, the politics in our country are useless. We might have a good government, but the politics of the government are bad. You look at what's happening in Agniveer's story. Politically, both sides, the ruling party and the opposition, have messed it up. ये इसके बारे में I'm going to talk tomorrow morning with all of you on P Gurus. Okay. Now, establish full diplomatic and arms relationship with Taiwan. We have started doing it. We established two more cultural centers in, Taiwan doesn't have diplomatic or rather embassies outside. They have cultural centers. Uh, we've been, in the past 4 years, we've had two more cultural centers in India, one in Chennai and one in Bombay. I suppose it's a matter of time. Now, as far as Taiwan is concerned, we have to be a little careful in recognizing Taiwan as a country and state because Taiwan itself has not declared independence, right? So you have to be a little careful. There are issues in this, why it can't do so immediately. It needs US help because there's a Taiwan Relation Act there. And then there's a Treaty of San Francisco. Have to go back to the 50s or 40s, immediately after the Second World War, I think 47, 48. When the Treaty of San Francisco was signed between Taiwan, China, and Japan. In fact, it was basically between Japan and USA. So all those things are there. There are too many layers. In fact, one of the podcasts I did dissect it in detail. So you can't overnight do all this. Raise Xinjiang atrocities, we should. That's something which I always felt we should. Why we have not done it? Again, the government has to. Overall, the government has to be clear what it wants to do. It's not what I say, what you say, what you feel, what I feel. It's the government of the day. Right? And I don't see our government being able to do it. And why we don't do it is because we simply, let me put it very bluntly, we're not strong enough militarily to do it. Our ideas are not clear as to what we want to do. The day we can do that will be okay. But are we prepared to do that is a question. You watch, very soon the finance minister will present a defense budget and I'll get back to you on this. If our defense budget doesn't cater for defense modernization and Agniveers and all this nonsense, how will you declare Taiwan independent and all that? It doesn't happen. Will China actively collude with Pak with respect to POK and Gilgit-Baltistan in case of a war with the latter? It will. Let's be very clear, because China has interests in POK and Gilgit-Baltistan. So if you go headlong into a military adventure there, China will react. But the way to handle this is by ensuring that POK and people of POK and people of Gilgit-Baltistan want to come and join you. I'll do a separate program on this sometime next week. Okay, the third question I'm going to answer is Pakistan very often acts without thinking much. Will your explanation regarding mutual collusion hold good? Right? With respect to Pakistan in a real life scenario. It will be in our best interest to remain prepared for a two-front war, and this was, of course, stated by you at the outset. Look, I am not saying that the two-front war has gone away. Please understand, the two-front threat remains. The two-front threat is the basic parameter, the basic edifice on which your force structuring should be modeled. You have to cater for that. But having said that, the reality is this will not happen. So if you cater for the worst case scenario, you can cater for any other scenario. And Pakistan acting without thinking, I don't agree with it. Pakistan thinks and acts. They think differently, that's a different story, but they think and act. Okay. So this is what I had to put across. I would last but not the least tell whoever raised that question, never underestimate Pakistan. Okay. Right. So I'll take your questions. I see a lot of questions. Um, Rohan says, what tangible things could we do in our region to strengthen relations? Current initiatives, government doing our hydroelectric trade with Nepal, rail linkages with Bangladesh, any other suggestions? Sir? See, our neighbors are important for us. I'll be very honest with you. You need to take your neighborhood along with you very seriously. Till such time your neighborhood is not with you, you will not go far. And for that, you need to approach them comprehensively. You did this with Sri Lanka, you have to do the same thing with Bangladesh and Nepal and Bhutan and Myanmar, Seychelles, Maldives. Take them along with you comprehensively. As we grow, make them grow. Give them avenues of growth. If you give them avenues of growth, and their growth has to be based on you, you have to open up good uh, military relations with them. We don't have enough. Our diplomacy cannot handle them on their own. Our politics is even worse. Okay. You need to get military diplomacy into the equation. So if you do two things, just incrementally also, things will start changing. I've been talking about this long. Okay. Prasad Singh says, what about the biggest dam they're building on Brahmaputra River? Is it trouble for India, for general public and defense security? Well, this is a question, Prasad, which everyone has been asking. I have done two videos on dams on Brahmaputra. Okay, I've done one on Ganashot exclusively, one I did on P Gurus. Have a look at both of them. My opinion, and I'm telling it to you with a fair bit of understanding of this subject, the dam on the Brahmaputra will not affect us. Why? The water from Trans LAC or Trans Himalayas from Tibet, which flows into the Brahmaputra basin, is just 10 to 12% of the water. That's all. Maximum water from into Brahmaputra comes from five other tributaries of Brahmaputra. There's only one stretch of, uh, the Brahmaputra as it enters Arunachal. It's called Siang, and Siang comes and joins, the main Brahmaputra channel down below. Uh, that stretch will have lesser water because of this dam. So it's only that stretch, about 300 to 400 kilometers, which will get affected. It's a narrow stretch. Now, what we need to do is have a mirror dam this side. The moment you have a mirror dam this side, you fill that dam with water. If China holds water back to flow into Siang, you release water from the dam. If China floods the water, gets more water into the dam during rainy season, you store that water in your dam. You have to make that kind of arrangement. But are we doing it? We don't know. but let's see. Okay, that's the thing. But it doesn't affect us too much beyond a point, right? Can IBGs coexist under a theater command structure, or will there be some conflicts? IBG is battle groups he's talking of. In that case, will IBGs be modified or scrapped or for something else? Also, why does it take decades for reforms? You see, we started with a story of integrated battle groups. Then somewhere we said we'll have theater commands. Then you want to raise new forces. Then new equipment is coming in. So there's a lot of change happening. And then to top all of this, you started this thing called Agnivir. So there's a lot of change. Any system which is under change is susceptible to a breakdown. Theoretically, IBGs can coexist under theater command structure. There's no problem. It's a matter of. But having a IBG, having a theater command, having new forces, having new systems, and with new Agniveers and things like that is a major structural change. You can't handle it all in one go, right? Politically, we are not tuned to it. Forget about the army, navy, air force. Politically, I feel that there is a lack of understanding of the national security imperatives. It's nice for someone to talk about many things, but I think we don't. Our politicians don't understand this. As a result, at this point of time, it's not advisable to go in for all. Choose what you want to do, modify that. When that comes to some level where things are okay, then you start the other one. You start everything, you'll fall flat. Do they have a system of rainwater harvesting, Lata? I must tell you, in those areas, rainwater harvesting has got no value because the amount of rain which happens there is huge. It's a different area, northeast. Right? There's no question of rainwater harvesting there. In fact, you really can't do it in those areas. So, what will be a viable solution to address water shortages? Images of Delhi and rural areas in Maharashtra and Karnataka struggling for water are heart wrenching, terrifying to imagine what the future holds. Look, we are also at water risk. If you want to progress tomorrow as a nation and become a power, you need to manage your water better. Climate change is not going to hit China only; it's going to hit India also, and it's going to hit India very badly. And India, large stretches of India is water deficient, and our population is going up. So you need to manage your water. You need to have rainwater harvesting systems, groundwater recharge systems. You need to have linkages. You need to have north to south transfer. You need to transfer water from the Indus basin, which is surplus of water, to the Ganga basin. And what have we done? वो जो सतलज कैनाल है ना, यमुना सतलज यमुना कैनाल, उसी को हमने बंद कर दिया. Because politically our states don't talk. It's not a matter of BJP or Congress or something. It's the matter of our people. And our politicians are such rogues that they'll not put a good thing through. I mean, I don't know किस जमाने में वो इंदिरा गांधी कनाल आ गया था. अगर आप इस जमाने में वो इंदिरा गांधी नहर बनाना चाहते हो तो कोई आपको अलाउ ही नहीं करेगा. Okay. So we need to do a lot. We need to put in desalination plants. You need to do, in all cities, in all houses, you have to have water recharging systems. It's just not having water recharging system. You need to have water cleaning system. I know it because in Chennai there's not much water, and I have a water recharging system. I have a well. I didn't let that well. A lot of people said, "Yeah, sir, ab, वो लगा लो क्या you know, bore well, vagara. I never put it. I'm still on well water. That well has gone dirty. So I have to go back. When I go back to Chennai, I'll get it clean and all that. But that's a later day story. So you have to do all that. Who'll do it? I don't see any of our governments doing it. Whether it is, you know, the governments which are in power or in opposition. Okay. Ask Neelam Kotli Bimber part of JNK or part of Gilgit. It doesn't matter whether they're part of Gilgit or JLM. You need to take both. Retaking POK has some value, retaking Gilgit has some value. I'll talk of it. I'll talk of it down the line. Not far. One of this is I will do it in the next 1 week. Is desalination a valid solution for water crisis, or is a process not at energy economically efficient to be done? It is. There's no problem. Wherever there's no water, there'll be sun. After all, that's a basic thing. And if you have energy, you can convert. You can do desalination. But are we doing it in that manner? That's the point. Are we focused to do it that way? Right? We have to invest in solutions, which we don't. Okay. I partly agree to the fact that LOC ceasefire is good. Hypothetically, if we were to warm up the LOC and be preemptive against terrorists, how would it play out? Will stretching Park here help us? Not necessary, right? Because the terrorists are not that much now. It is, they're operating in small groups, independent groups with small targets, but deadly targets. It's not like earlier when there were terrorist camps and ready to cross over and large scale training is going on. That's not happening now. There are, but so warming up the LOC is no solution at this point of time. In any case, the attacks there are not much. Your first requirement now is to get through with the assembly elections. Whether it will happen in September or it will get delayed, we'll see. You have to manage that. That's the most important thing. You know, encourage Mongolia to seek unification with Inner Mongolia. All this is fine. My problem is our politics. How can extreme heat, cold, as well as climate change in general affect armed forces and their fighting abilities? Surely it must take a toll on man and machine. Any innovative solution? There's no innovative solution. There's nothing you can do. You have to be in the weather. You have to be in the weather. You have to go through the climate change. See, for the army, it doesn't make a difference whether there is climate change or not. Whether there's climate change or not, you still have to go through it in that particular terrain condition and weather condition. You don't have a choice. Okay, so that's how it is. Yeah, what should our strategy be for Central Asia? Is this a valuable region for us due to minerals, gas? How much does this matter to India? It matters hell of a lot. Let me tell you, I've been to Kazakhstan, I've been to Russia. It matters hell of a lot, and they are open to dealing with us. Only thing is we don't have an approach. It's not only gas and minerals. Even your uranium comes from Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is full of uranium. Okay, and we have good equity there, whether it's Uzbekistan or Tajikistan or Kyrgyzstan or Turkmenistan or for that matter with Kazakhstan. We have good relations. And more important, we have good relations with Russia. We have good relations with Iran. We have to maximize that Chabahar port, international north-south transfer corridor, take it through Afghanistan and go ahead. So it matters quite a bit for us. So we have to put in a lot of more effort for this. Okay, Jayansa, I would like to know where do we stand in the matter of propulsion systems? Can we become independent in that case? Yeah, we are well off in propulsion. You see, our propulsion systems, I'm into propulsion. as all of you would know, in aerospace department of IIT Madras. We're developing the ramjet, and that is because we have got cutting edge propulsion thinking. And that's how we've been able to launch MIRVs. That's how we've been able to launch satellites, ISRO's space. We're well off. There's no problem. That's all I can say at this point of time. I released the video day before yesterday on rise of rockets. Uh, have a look at it. We're doing well. Similarly, the position of Dalai Lama and Tibet government in exile is what they want, not independence but autonomy within China. How does this work? Look, this is a sorry history. Let me put it this way, Rahul. Dalai Lama and all the Tibetans uh, were being backed by USA for independence. That's how the Kampa rebellion happened in the 50s, 60s, and all that. They were funded, trained, everything. And China crushed them. There's no doubt. Later, once the rapprochement took place between USA and China, they left the Tibetans high and dry. Hence, Dalai Lama had to go and adopt something called the middle path, where he said, I don't want independence, I want autonomy. Now, after that, we recognize Tibet as part of China and cut the Tibetan feet even further. So there's a lot we have to do for our own explanation. How do you undo all what you have done is something which we have to spend a lot of time on. And I don't see that happening. Let me be very honest with you. You tell me, all of you, how many channels talk of how to get independence to Tibet? Everyone says Tibet should be independent. Tibet, is not part of China. Everyone says this. Everyone says we should help Tibet gain independence. Tell me one channel which says how to do it. I'll try it next week. I'll do this. Okay. I would like to know where we stand in the matter. Yeah, I've said that already. We are not only independent, we are quite ahead of the loop. Okay, PLA is actively planning a Taiwan invasion in this decade. Who said so? Even China is talking of stuff and postures. If it happens, India will participate in isolation, naval blockade, or stay mum. Have a look at the video which General Narayanan and I have done on can PLA invade Taiwan, and you will realize that it cannot. So this is a theoretical question; it will not occur. Okay, we seem to blame government for decisions or indecisions, but can they resist the combined recommendations of army leadership, unity among army leadership? You'll be surprised, Arunachal. The problem with us is that the governments of our day have always overrode, roughshod over the army leadership. One prime example is Agniveer, where the whole nation is paying for it. All kinds of nonsense is being peddled in the name of Agniveer. And that was a political decision. The armed forces clearly didn't want it. Okay, right. You could take a decision that you want a carrier, but you need to have budget. The budget is given only by the government. So you have to understand there is a lot of unity amongst the army leadership on the necessity to do many things. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen because the government doesn't want it to happen. Okay, because China reminds us that they're remaining silent during 71 and Kargil war, and that any adverse act may result in cessation of important exports like chip, API, rare earths, and oh, that's all nonsense. Don't worry. All these questions, they'll keep these threats, they'll keep posing. We need to do what we want to do. They are the guys who say keep the border aside and let's trade. We are saying border first and trade later. Okay. And you must also understand, if China stops exporting to us, they'll suffer even more. As simple as that. And they might lose militarily. And if they lose militarily, their whole international phase will go. If that happens, they'll be at a further disadvantage strategically. So let's be very clear. Don't get cowed down by what China says. Yeah, I will definitely look at the. Yeah, please do. It was a good video. Dams on our Brahmaputra. That was the video which I did. Are government decisions independent of recommendation of professionals? Many times they are. Many times they are. Okay, so be it CDS, Theatre Command or Agnipath, all the time both government and bureaucrats work together to reform the armed forces, which have been failed except 62. Why no reforms for the Babus? I don't know. That is something which the government has to answer. I can't answer for everyone. I know our reforms don't take place well because our bureaucrats, to some extent, are good, but beyond that, they're not that good. Okay, yesterday on Twitter, former Navy Chief Karambir Singh said that Agniveer adversely affects national security. Partisans began calling him greedy and questioned his knowledge of national security. Yeah, I think that's a stupid thing, and that's why I want to talk tomorrow. Politics needs to change. Yes. Uh, Ask if Chinese have big flood problem. If all emperors were removed due to city floods, why mega city in China? Well, that is their headache. I cannot answer for that. Why they're building where they are is something which I really don't understand. Pakistan is trying to fit its tactical nuclear weapons into JF-17. Is Pakistan preparing itself to tackle IAF if they cross the LOC? Yes, all that is nonsense. Don't worry. They don't have the guts to do all that. Like I said, their focus is somewhere else. Okay. Their focus is the Navy. Their focus is the maritime. And all this big talk of nuke, shook, and all, we leave it at that. Thoughts on the new chief, General Dwivedi, and the challenges he might address. Also, comments on the tenure of General Pandey. You feel he did well, or was he largely vanilla? Look, every chief does what he is supposed to do. Let's be very clear about it, right? Uh, in our system, the chiefs don't bring about, overnight changes or mercurial changes. They're incremental changes. And if you say you look at what General Pandey did in comparison to his predecessor or to his predecessor or to his predecessor, there's no more, no less. And if you think General Dwivedi will do something great, I don't think so. But everyone will do something incrementally good. Okay. So they've done. Let's be very clear, they've done. Pandey, I will grant him that he's changed the way armies started thinking. The thinking is more important than the actual execution. That he's done quite a bit. So we grant everyone. Okay, they've not done bad. That's the next point. They've done better than the previous one. General, just want to say Russians and Americans posing as Krishna devotee in Vrindavan as our KGB and CIA, great workers, great work. Yeah, keep going. Thanks a lot. Uh, I'm not too into this kind of intelligence thing. Yeah. Indian generals, Agniveer Vapas Law. Yeah, I'm very clear. I have said this not now. On the day the Agniveer scheme was announced, my article was there in Financial Express, which denounced it. And I didn't denounce it politically, I did it professionally. I dissected the entire Agniveer scheme over six articles. Then I wrote two articles giving how to modify the Agniveer scheme. And after that, I've not written. I speak, but I don't write. There's no point. That's why. right? Because what is to be done? What's the problem with it? Everything I've written, it's a matter. But now it's become a little political. That's why I asked Shreya ji, let's talk of it. That we'll do tomorrow. Or rather, yeah, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock our time, 9:30 evening, today evening, India time. Yeah, ask if you are a CEO now commanding unit at LOC or LSC, would you have a headache because of Agnipath? Because you will train chaps or tackle enemy or decide which chaps to train. At this point of time, no, I'll have no problem. The problem of Agnipath will start 3 years from now. Not even three, maybe about 5 to 6 years from now. How? See, the Agniveers who are coming in terms of the quality, there's no difference because they've gone through the same selection process. They've gone through almost the same training, barring a little here and there. And that can be made up in the unit in a matter of 5 6 months. Once they achieve that, they're okay. They can be put in LOC, LAC, wherever. Till they are 4 years into the system, there's no difference. It's the problem will start 5 6 7. The real problem it peaks out between 2028 30, when the number of Agniveers will be far more than the number of experienced people in a unit. And that happens, you will have young units but very inexperienced units. That's the problem. That's how the operational requirement gets diluted. And that's my worry. And so much churn in a unit that every 4 years you're taking 75% of the intake out doesn't do good for camaraderie and morale and all that. These are the two things which are, uh, and all these fellows will go to frontline units, cutting edge units. So your operational capability is being degraded by this team. At this point, no, nothing. There's no problem. We still have time. Another 2 years we have to modify it. But the faster we start it, the better it is. You people take mota pension and don't give us decent jobs. I don't know what's your issue, uh, right? I don't know what your issue is, so I really can't comment. In India too, is India too diverse to be stable over the long term? Highly diverse countries like Ottomans, Yugoslavia, USSR collapsed even after accumulating power. Feel like India isn't immune to the same fate. No, it will not happen. It will not happen for a couple of good reasons. Whether we like it or not, religion binds all of us across areas, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Gujarat to Manipur. Religion binds us. And it's not one religion which binds us, it's three religions which bind us. Maximum Hinduism, second followed by Islam and Christianity, they bind us. Over a period of 75 years, our cultures and likes and dislikes have also changed. Let me give you a very simple example. Uh, 25, 30 years back, if you went to Chennai, you would not see anyone, a lady, right, in a salwar kameez or dupatta and all that. Today, that's the norm. People have changed. 25 years back, you won't get tandoori rotis in Chennai. You today get it. And I'm not talking only Chennai, go down south anyway. You get it. Similarly, people used to make fun of people eating idlis up north, but today everyone eats. Our food habits, the way we talk, the way our growth takes place, the way our cities are flourishing, there's a mix of people, and everyone is looking at one direction. That is India. That I'm very clear. So it will not break up. Don't worry. Yeah, Brian. After reading about India-China border issue, it seems that this current standoff is the same like 87 standoff Sundrangchu when will with General Sundarji outclassing the PLA with his genius. The only difference is today you don't have a lever to push the Chinese back. That lever has to come politically or economically. I'm waiting for that to happen. It's not happened. That otherwise I'm okay. I go with you. Yeah, Germany is running for Project 75 India to build subs for us. But can we trust them? Who knows? One day they might wake up and sanction us for arresting Kejriwal and stop spare supply. Spain is also the same. I completely agree with your apprehension. But the way that whole story, the strategic partnership program is going to go through, means that fellow has to have a commitment, a trade commitment. There's no question of sanctioning. No one can sanction that. Once you start building, everything is okay. Because there are, then you can take them if they sanction. We are dealing with individual firms through treaties, through contracts. The next thing is most of these firms, if they go back on their commitment, where will they go? For them also, it's economic necessity. I'm not too worried about it. It will go through, and I'm sure our people know how to handle all these things. Yeah, there's always the issue with getting military hardware from abroad. I agree. That's a risk we have to run. Uh, Thanks a lot, Murugesan, for joining. I'll try to keep it in English as far as possible, but I don't know how much it can be. Can you explain briefly how Sundarji outclassed the PLA and Sundarangchu standoff? See the video I did with General Kulkarni on this very subject. Okay, how we did this? Have a look at it. Right. We have defeated. We tend to forget. We have defeated China in Natula, Sundarangchu, Doklam, and Eastern Ladakh. And yet we feel that China is a threat for us. Yes, please cover the emergence of the middle path. I have read vague mentions of Nehru facilitating CAA. Look, the emergence of the middle path I have done already. Please see the video on free Tibet. I've done on Tibet recent for 2 3 months back. Have a look at it. I'll do this again. And now that you said it, I'll do it sometime in the next 5 10 days. So you just joined your excellent channel. Thanks a lot. Let's see. I hope I live up to your expectations. Is the first water logging in Chennai and other major cities in India after light rain? Yeah, I agree with you. But look, Shankar, you've always been negative in the way you think. I'm I must tell you this publicly. Why? If you keep seeing about your own problems, then you don't see the other man's problems. Okay. Why? Uh, I am looking at China strategically. It's not from a commercial point of view. It's not from comparing India and China. I don't do that. I look at the whole thing strategically. Strategically, what problems China has. That gives you an idea of where China is going, and then you match yourself to it. What's happening in India? What I'm not for one moment saying that we are better than China or all that. And you can't keep saying that, because waterlogging happens in China, I should not look at China. Because if I don't do that, he will one day sit on top of us. So you have to change your thinking. Why I'm talking the way I'm talking. There is a theory that homogeneous countries like China or Japan are more likely to succeed over diverse ones like India, Pak, where too many interest groups showed uh, governance. Does diversity bring a deficit? I don't agree with it at all. Firstly, China is not a homogeneous country. It's only the hands who are homogeneous. The rest are not. That's the first part. The second part is Japan did show a lot of promise and it progressed very well. But equally, a country like USA, which is the leading economy in the world, is completely heterogeneous. It's progressing. So are we. You also recovered from what you were. So this is, I don't agree to this theory. What are the political dividends for government to overrule army leadership, especially on Agniveer? Please ask Mr. Modi, because it is his government who has done it earlier, and it is his government who's now not amending it. Because I cannot for one moment understand why they overruled. Could you end with a book recommendation on Tibet? The first book I'd like you to read on Tibet is, 7 Years in Tibet by Henry Carroll. So read that. It's a good book to read. You'll start understanding something about Tibet, and then I'll tell you what to read. Can you please explain how Indian Army will fight differently in theater command versus uh, current core command setup? Is it more logistics training or more towards a combined arm warfare? It's both. It's logistics, it's training, it's combined arm, it's communication, it is control, everything. Complete. The commands won't disappear just because the theater command has come in, or the cores won't disappear. They'll continue to be there. Don't worry. It's only the way you fight together will change. So many thanks for patiently answering each and every question. We're lucky to have you, Pranam. Thanks a lot. All I'll say is, Tritik, get your friends over on the channel, because the more people who understand what's happening in India, the better. I'm not getting that uptick, right? For whatever reason. And people are more interested in seeing other talks and other dialogues and other, whatever, because masala is being served. Well, if it's only masala, all the best. I believe in quality. Yeah. Uh, Deep in your heart, do you believe that the unknown gunmen in Pak are Indian agents, or simply the ISI cutting the clutter to reduce it? It's both. I will not say more. Could be a combination of more. Why do you think that uh, CAA is not doing it? They could also do it. Okay, does India need a blue water navy to be a net security provider? Yes. Could you do a session what it means to be a net security provider? This seems to be government strategy also. Thanks. I've done one with Commodore Watson. Have a look at it. But then I'll repeat it. Okay. Yeah, Rahul says, thank you. I think we've finished with the questions. I hope I've answered all your questions. Yeah, tomorrow morning US time and to the evening Indian time, 9:30, we'll have a session on Agniveer with Shreya here. Come back, join in. I'll put the link out by, either late night or by evening. I'll put it so that, evening India time or early morning US time. I'll put it out 9:30 p.m. night India, 9 a.m. US time. That's the thing. Uh, we'll go over that. Yeah, too many questions have come. Two more questions, I'll answer them. While you are a military man, I respect you are staying politically agnostic. The nation needs to know the nexus between Congress and the PLA. There's no nexus as far as I'm concerned. Uh, you could have a view about all this. I have a very clear view they have no nexus. I can, this is a theory which has been put forth by the BJP. I can talk of the BJP also having a nexus with China and PLA. So let's not get involved with this nonsense, right? Okay. You need to do some social media tips and tricks using YouTube Shorts, Instagram, and yeah, let me try. Okay. They made a movie on 7 years in Tibet with Brad Pitt. You should recommend that. Yeah, it's the same thing. The original book by Henrik Herrer is the better one. I've seen this book. The Brad Pitt movie is an adaptation of that original novel. But the original novel puts a lot of things in perspective, which this movie doesn't. But see both, and you'll get a better understanding of the whole thing. Okay, I think we've done with it. Thanks a lot. See you in 12 hours, right? Bye. Till then, have a good evening uh, and a good morning in India, and good evening in USA and anything in between. Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye. And till next time, 12 hours later. Jai Hind.